So we got early bedtime fogies versus do it right on Battlefield of Eternity. Should always be a good game, just a best of one. So this is going to be the last game of the week for both of these teams. Last game of the season for both of these teams. Early bedtime fogies is on the left, has the first pick. So Battlefield of Eternity is one of those maps you kind of draft. You draft two different ways. You're either drafting for the race game or you're drafting for the defense game. You're like trying to defense them and try to force a team fight under your own immortal while you have like one guy attacking the enemy team's immortal. So right off the bat, early bedtime fogies decides to ban off Vala. One of the big time racers. She's a strong all around. Pair her with a Zarya, pair her with a Tassadar, and she does work. Do it right, decides to ban off one of the top healers with Malfurion. I think probably Malfurion, Lucio we see a lot. Rhaegar is still back up there, but make sure that they're trying to limit that healer pool, knowing that they have the next two picks, so they're probably going to be expecting to take one of their healers here. I would imagine, since they banned a healer. Otherwise, they severely limit. And never mind, they decide not to take a healer, and they're just going to go immediately with two big racers. Artanis with Amateur Opponent does a lot of work on the Immortal and Greymane with one of the fastest DPSs, auto attack DPSs. The only problem with them two is that they are both melee. So now if the other team decides to get one auto attacker, Vala's already been banned out, they picked out Greymane. If they take like say Zul'jin or someone of the sorts like that, or Monk, actually they could do double heal Monk it and do a DPS Monk on the Mortal. Then they can basically just play defense and not limiting out two people, limiting out two melee off of the Immortal for do it right severely limits their race potential. Like for instance, let's say if early bedtime fogies, I would actually really like to see them ban a Li Ming here, because Li Ming gives them a lot of poke on the Immortal, since Greymane and Artanis is not going to be able to. Gives do it right, the red team, a lot of poke, especially since they already have their own mage with Kael'thas. So between ET, Kael'thas, and Lucio, they definitely cannot win the race at all. Like I think they've probably just given up, and they should. Now they have to go for the team fight. They have to go for, we're going to push on the Immortal, we're going to defend our Immortal, we're going to push you off of it, and we're probably just going to leave one guy to attack the Immortal. Make it kind of like a 4v5, but you have two melee people. It's hard for you to engage onto an Immortal with all the stuns available. And if they ban out Li Ming, that gives away a lot of the poke. Interesting ban on the Tychus. I think that is pretty much a throwaway ban, since I don't think I've ever seen Tychus being played in a long ass time. Bedtime Fogies bans out the Jaina. I would have really liked to ban out the Li Ming. Jaina is not nearly as good on this. I mean, she throws out her Blizzard once every, 13 seconds or something like that. So, man, so far, Do It Right is all melee. They got the Kerosene, which is more race. They got the Varian, which is decent, but he'll provide the tank at level 10. And they could still have room to take the Li Ming at the last pick, which will round out their team pretty well, especially a Li Ming following up on the taunt variant with Greymane. That's so much burst damage, it's not even funny. Bedtime folks, so I'd really like to see Li Ming from Do It Right. That would be a perfect round out for the team. Gives them poke on the Immortal, gives them follow up on the variant, gives them just all around good damage, burst potential for the Greymane to finish up and the Li Ming to get resets. But Bedtime Fogies picking up the Sylvanas Arthas. I don't like the Sylvanas pick here. What? Why Azmodan? They want laser? I mean, what? Laser can get interrupted by multiple people. I don't know. But going back to the Sylvanas, so Bedtime Fogies right now can't win the actual race, which means they're betting on them being able to somehow kill the Immortal while also stopping the other team from killing the Immortal. So for Sylvanas to get any type of value, otherwise she's pretty much worthless. So I'm not okay. I don't like the Sylvanas pick that much. I mean, she can. I mean, once she hits level 7, it's been known before that once she hits level 7 and she gets the increased minion damage on her Withering Fire, she does chunk the immortal down pretty well. But that's at level 7, whereas the whole other team is already strong at level 1. So, I mean, right off the bat, we know Do It Right has the faster race. I mean, it's hands down, like no question. They have the level 10 with Varian. I mean, we'll have to see the team fights because I think it's basically going to come down to these team fights. Do It Right doesn't have that strong of a team fight anymore with the Azmodan, but we'll have to see how it goes. So, Battlefield Eternity on the left, we got early Bedtime Fogeys, MB5K on the Arthas, Flywalker on the ETC, Hulk on the Lucio, Vega Swizzle on the Sylvanas, and Krezel on the KT. On the right side, Do It Right, we got Ronin on the Varian, Tantrum on the Artanis, Hannibal on the Monk, Karazim, Creamy J on the Azmodan, and Iceman on the Greymane. Yeah, so okay, there's no mage. Like I said, I was really hoping to see the Li Ming there for Do It Right because I feel like it just gives him so much more poke and so much more follow-up on the Varian once he gets taunt. But we're going to see a little bit of a cheese from early Bedtime Fogeys since they have the Sylvanas. Swizzle's just going to sit here and dagger the tower, and they're just going to do... They'll definitely get this tower before they're to Do It Right's able to rotate up, and they'll just back away. It's just a little bit, tiny bit, like what, a quarter of experience, not even that. Leaving Azmodan in the solo lane. Azmodan is going laser build to hopefully get more ranged on his laser to get less likely to get interrupted. I think with full range, he can walk right around this wall and get a laser behind that wall if it's in that position. Only one minion of this lane was missed. Nice swap from the Artanis and a good follow-up on the two of the Sylvanas. Greymane almost leapt into the towers because of the Sylvanas' haunting wave, but and man, freaking Tantrum barely walks away with his life. And he's just gonna wait to get healed up by the Monk, by Karazim, by Hannibal. The stronger wave clear for Bedtime Fogeys for right now. KT's trying to get his stacks out. Does this not have a counter anymore? I guess it doesn't have a counter. I mean, like, you see a counter, but it doesn't really work. That's interesting. Too bad we don't have Ali. Ali needs to make his... So one thing you gotta pay attention to with Sylvanas, if you are forward of the lane and Sylvanas throws her dagger onto you, you actually want to run away. Nice interrupt by the ETC onto Tantrum to stop him from getting his swap back, and the follow-up damage there was really good. He was trying to, you saw him try to throw his phase prism out to kind of like interrupt and get himself back into a good position. So far, a favorable position for Do It Right since all their people are top lane already, and they can and most of the damage dealers will have to run away. A little bit of a start for Bedtime Fogeys, but I think once Do It Right gets on the actual Immortal, they're gonna just destroy it. You can see him already catching up way too fast. Look at that damage. Look at this race. I think it's probably gonna swap right at even. Bedtime Fogeys is slightly ahead on the damage, but it's not gonna matter for this part unless they have to face. They're gonna have to interrupt here. It looks like they are. And this is going to be one of the problems with the full melee team, is that as long as ETC and KT can do some damage to interrupt everybody, they're going to be spreading chain bombs. But it doesn't matter. They're just going to say, hey, we don't care. You guys are all out of mana. We'll fight anyways. They're actually going to look for the kills almost. Everybody's pretty hurt. Artanis is getting picked out, and first death of the game going to our Tantrum. Able to get interrupted by the ETC. ETC's been doing a really good job of every time Artanis starts to swap, he'll do like a knockback or a slide to catch him, so that way he doesn't swap back. So first Immortal, Sylvanas is going to get no value because it's not on the push team. We're not good. We're going to see full laser from Azmodan. Greymane opted to not get the first cocktail build, trying to get as much of the cooldown reset as he can because he knows he's going to try to be sitting on that Immortal, and he might be interrupted every once in a while. Immortal died pretty quick though. There is all 5 members up here, or 4 members, and Arthas dying really quick to the Greymane, knowing that the towers have no ammo anymore. Artanis, so if their ETC was alive, because KT Chain Bomb barely keeps them alive. Yeah, so as I was saying before, when I was interrupted, if you notice that you get like daggered, right, like Shadow Dagger right up here, and you're not near the minion wave, don't walk next to the minion wave, because then you just spread it over there. Like, you actually want to keep, you almost want to treat it like a chain bomb, KT Chain Bomb, where you just kind of keep it to yourself up in the corner. You know, you live with your shadow. Azmodan able to do some split push by himself, actually, on the bottom lane against the, I think the Arthas was down there at the beginning. We're going to see both teams just opt to get the PvE game going. Tantrum was going for a little bit of swap. I mean, neither person swap there would have helped, so it's probably okay that he didn't get it. Granted, he wouldn't have been punished for it because there's nobody up here, but it wouldn't have helped anybody. Pretty typical talents. You see this amateur opponent from Artanis, which is going to allow him to DPS the boss super quick. We actually don't see Iron Fist from Monk, knowing that they already have enough race. He can probably opt to get more heals. The thing is that this is a stacking talent, so he won't really become strong until probably level 13. Ooh, I mean, Ronan charging into 4 of them without any type of team follow-up kind of just threw his life away right there. I was hoping to get as much, you know, saving himself for that shield wall talent as much as possible, but wasn't enough with the knockback. And using the Sylvanas trait, nice swap on the Sylvanas right when she was using the Haunting Wave too, so she's not able to get away. Unfortunately, everybody else dived in and not allowing, but Azmodan was right there for the lasers. So far, I mean, Bedtime Fogeys barely started on there, killing the enemy immortal. And now, with all 5 members up here, this thing's going to melt away. See, Azmodan can actually sit at max range. Like, his max range is actually right about here for sitting around that immortal. So he can actually sit in that vent and be super safe, making sure that the other melee characters can interrupt. Yeah, so like right here, he should be able to make his way to about here if he were to hit on the immortal. We're going to have a little bit of team fight. ETC Flywalker sliding in. Everybody's focused on the Artanis, and he dies rather quickly, being pretty much the only take at this point. They want to get to level 10, but Lucio, with the rest of the team, he should be able to speed everybody up to follow up on this. But the laser from the Azmodan, Sylvanas was not able to get away. So a 1-for-1 trade there. Grandmane's getting some of his cocktails in. Still doesn't count talents, which is pretty terrible. Default Blizzard UI is pretty bad. So we'll have to like go to here to see this. Yeah, so we have KT is 1 stack away from his flame strikes, and he'll stop caring about being safe. Granted, you still want to be safe to not die, but do it right. Looking to get a full immortal here. Should have no problem getting it with the laser Azmodan laser. They are going to lose Ronan for it, but pretty much full immortal. If they lose anybody else, they're not going to get too much value out of it. The Lucio speed coming into play. Big KT damage with the Chain Bomb, and the ETC barely sliding and catching the Greymane, and that's a 3-for-0 on Fly for Bedtime Fogeys, and that should allow them to clean up this immortal rather quickly. And they're actually ahead on experience. Granted, this immortal will do damage. It'll probably get half of this fort. If they don't react to it, which they all are, then it would get the full fort, but it's gonna be no problem at all. Seeing follow through of the Artanis. I don't think the Sylvanas is... I'm not sure what that was. Sylvanas is not respecting the Azmodan laser damage. She's died to it 3 times now. Fort does go down, which gives Do It Right level 10. Both teams hitting level 10. Now the barely experienced lead. We have Cursed Bullet, Taunt. Cursed Bullet for the double tank is going to do a lot of damage. And reverse amp, not going for the major. I mean, that's probably a good choice. There's not a lot of burst damage coming out of Do It Right, so you don't need the sound barrier. So this is going to be here to give more damage and more slow for the rest of the team to follow up on, especially with the Arthas, who doesn't have an engage. We have Mosh Pit coming out, and there's only one interrupt. So if they get any type of Mosh Pit, wow, well, look at this Cancer Azmodan build, just going for full push. They're saying we don't need the immortals, we're just going to push anyways. I mean, I guess I can see the value in that now. I still would have liked the Li Ming, I think, but they're making Azmodan work. Full laser build Azmodan. It's working, but I can't think it's just because they're getting away with it versus it's actually being good. If ETC is able to get any type of mosh pit out, I think they can easily secure a team fight just because there's absolutely no interrupts on the side of Do It Right. KT's running away from this healer instead of, you know, staying with the team. Artanis decided to settle the top lane, which is fine. And the third Immortal phase starting up. Luckily, Do It Right was able to time their Mercs perfectly. These Mercs should be taken pretty much right when the Immortals spawn. And with Azmodan push, they're always going to be scary. But with that slightly timed off, I think the first wave might go to, or the first round might go to Bedtime Fogeys. But that's, they catch up super quick. Actually, they might not. Who's going to win this in the phase? Oh my gosh, Bedtime Fogeys just barely, like how much of a lead they had that, how that thing just melted. One more team fight. There are Mercs pushing the top lane, which is going to force Sylvanas to deal with the Mercs. Especially with Mercs and Azmodan minion. So seeing Sylvanas up there, they're just going to go ahead and force into this team fight. Taking a lot of damage from the KT chain bomb. Tantrum might die out pretty quick here. Didn't even need the Pyroblast get interrupted. A big silence hitting 3 members. Ronan dies for it. If we haven't even seen Mosh Pit yet, ETC could easily slide in for a Mosh. Lucio's getting super low. Azmodan dies next, and this is what they were looking for. This brings them back into the game. Sylvanas came back, and now this should give them their first Immortal for Bedtime Fogeys, and they're going to have a Sylvanas pushing with it. But on the other hand, you know, Do It Right has an Azmodan to kill the Immortal, which is probably the best thing to kill an Immortal with. This is not a best of 3. Unfortunately, this is only a best of 1 Guru. Top Mercs were killed by just the wall. Level 13 hit for Bedtime Fogeys. That gives them a slight lead. Tantrum going for the swap. Hitting. Look at that cursed bullet was perfectly timed with that swap. As soon as the swap came out, the Bedtime Fogeys hit, but the Mosh Pit hitting 2 members. Nobody again once able to interrupt. And the tower going down. You know, the healer dying right away. The stun follow up on Ronan. Tantrum's jumping back in there with no health. Ronan's gonna die following up. And now this leaves a Sylvanas pushing with an Immortal and 4 members dead. So this is looking terrible. You know, Bedtime Do It Right had such a lead in the beginning, killing the 2 forts right away. But then they were just not able to do anything. I mean, look at this damage from Azmodan. He's just, it takes forever for him to actually kill anybody. I feel like if they had the Li Ming, they could just be so much scarier. But they could actually go core here, honestly. If they get any type of kills with ETC slide, they're not going to have Mosh Pit up. Sound Barrier will probably be up. They don't have Sandragosa. But that's still a decently healthy Immortal. Any type of pick is going to spell disaster. Curse Bullet hitting on Lucio, but he's just going to walk away and heal that up. And they're just going to be like, they're going to be okay with this keep. Might rotate top to get the top fort at least.
Thus ends my assault on hell.
So looking at the talents, Kharazim actually has not finished the reduced cooldown talent yet. We have full cocktail being finished. Party mix, Frozen Tempest.
Blue team has destroyed a fort.
So like right here, I mean, like even if they get the swap, which is a huge swap, God swap from the Artanis, and with the monk, he just melts. But Tantrum still is almost dying to gets a good. Oh no, we walked back into the Flame Strike. And the Pyroblast is going to end up killing the Greymane. Perfect. What a follow-up. They lose the Arthas, but it was just a bait, guys. It was just a bait for them to get in range of KT. And KT did work. Looking at the damage. Actually, I can do damage this time. Sylvanas is actually top damage with all of her poke from the reduced cooldown of the dagger. And on the other side, Greymane is catching back up on his team. He's basically the only damage dealer for his team. Azmodan's on there, but it's not burst damage. It's not actually going to secure any kills.
I shall land
Sylvanas is actually double KTs. That means Sylvanas has been able to get massive resets on her Shadow Dagger. I know, Mika. You're playing with all the toys. Do it right. It's gonna time out there, Merc. Sorry, I was getting my dog put a ball into the chair. So somebody's gonna have to deal with these top mercs.
You and all your servants in hell will cower before me.
Immortal spawn, but do it right's not even looking for it. Yeah, I agree. Stealth Chaos. I was looking for the Li Ming as well. Do it right. So far, still on the bottom lane, dealing with the catapults, making sure that they don't push into the lane. Artanis is going to be looking for the swap here. Now that the rest of his team, who is he looking to swap? Taking a lot of KT damage already at 75%. But they're just looking to get that immortal swap. But we just need one more KT to do a flame strike here to swap the immortals and get a better position. Unfortunate. Now they're going to play defense while somebody deals with these mercs. All they have to do is kill the main guy, and the fort will do the rest. And while they do that, this is going to allow Do It Right to catch up extremely fast. Look at this damage. I mean, this is no problem. I'd like to see Azadan walk farther out. Like, yeah, look at that. Look, he can have laser from so far away. He hasn't been doing that all game. A big mosh pit hitting 3 people, but with the beam on the ETC, it actually took a lot of damage. I don't understand how he's still alive. Tantrum dying. The KT is just too strong. KT flame strikes. Like I said, I mean, they just could not deal with ETC. I mean, that was a first pick ETC. Look at that, man. He backs away right next to everybody. I mean, that was a first pick ETC. They could have had plenty of time to draft around that. Even having, once again, Li Ming, if they had Wave of Force, that would have dealt with ETC every single time. But going to be a half health immortal for Bedtime Fogeys. Asman is still trying to be just a little kind of annoying with his General of Hell.
Our glory radiates through this land.
So, a 3-level lead for Bedtime Fogeys. They have Sylvanas, they have Arthas with Syndragosa. They can shut down the fort and they can shut down the keep easily to allow their immortal to do whatever they want.
Let the burning hells atone for their
Sylvanas is able to spread a little bit of Shadow Dagger.
I shall march for
Actually spreads it through everybody. Look at them chase, like that's what I was talking about before. With them chasing back into here, spread to the whole team, and that's an instant reset. And it's actually going to spread once again almost everybody. Here comes Syndragosa to shut down the keep, and this is where they're going to start engaging. We got Tantrum trying to do a swap, but actually interrupted himself on the wall. And he's going to die off first. The beam onto Lucio is able to kill off Lucio. That is their healer, but Ronan's going to pay for it. Greymane's going in for the kills. Not able to follow up as much. Not able to get the final kills. And KT, the Flame Strike with the silence hitting everybody. And the follow-up Pyroblast. He has enough health. This might not kill him. It does. And that's going to spell GG for early Bedtime Fogeys. Finishing off with the last dance for the mosh pit. Creamy is a specialist, so without our usual team, it's all different. Yeah. So, I mean, Do It Right had the lead in the early game. And they were looking strong. I mean, like, Azrael was getting kills by himself. They were getting double force without the Immortal. And they just, once they got the two first Immortals, and then once they got, what's his name? Once Ronan got Variant to 10, that's when they get that power. So you were thinking that they were going to be super strong. They had Variant to 10. They had 7-sided strike. So if they were to get a swap, Variant, taunt, 7-sided strike, I could see what they're going with that, with a full blow up, with the taunt, Variant, swap, 7-sided, Greymane, Cursed Bullet. Like, that's a lot of damage. That'll blow somebody up. And they got that option quite a few times, but somehow nobody died during that, and all that happened was all those melees just died to Flame Strike. Like, that's pretty much what happened. But it is what it is, and good job for early Bedtime Fogeys for hanging in there and making sure that they didn't lose hope. They took a lot more team fights once they got Mosh Pit. They were able to sit in there, get 2 to 3 man moshes pretty much every team fight, and then KT just blew them up. But GG to early Bedtime Fogeys. That is going to spell the last of the season for both of these teams. I will have to double check if they are making it to playoffs. But if it's not for that, then there's always next season, you know, and there's always team league, obviously. So that's the one good thing about Cherry League is that once you find a team that you like and you hang out with, and you pretty much always have a team league team, and you can rank up in team league that way. It makes it a lot easier than plebs like me who have to scour the team league chat, or when I finally get time to play with my real life friends. But either way, it was a good game. That's going to be it for tonight for me. It's only just the one game tonight. I got pretty much a game every night. Tomorrow I have a best of 3 at 8 o'clock Eastern. On Wednesday I have a best of 3 at 8 o'clock Eastern. And I might pick up a couple games after those, depending on how late it goes. Yeah, it's pretty likely I might still pick up more games. Just at the moment, just the one. And then one game on Thursday and one game on Friday. So a game every day, and I'll probably I'll probably pick up more during the day. But unfortunately, that's going to be it for tonight. And